Hi there, and today I'm going to show you around and then heavily modify what I think is the best set that I've bought all year. So this is LEGO Creator 3-in-1 set 31153, and it's simply called Modern House. And the problem that I'm going to have throughout this video is that it's so big I'm having difficulty fitting the whole thing in one shot on my camera. Now, as it's a 3-in-1 set, it does mean that you can make 3 different models and you get instructions for all 3. This is the main model, which is the one I've made. This is the second model, which is more of a tall townhouse. And the third one is a less modern looking bungalow. Now, I'm personally not very keen on the second and the third build, partly because I don't personally think they look as good, but also they don't use half as many pieces as the main build, which uses every piece in the set. So first of all, looking at the right hand side, we've got the taller part of the building, which is 3 floors high. On the end of the building, we've got 2 brick steps leading up to the door into the kitchen. And then in front, you've got a wooden jetty leading out across the sand into the water. It's got this really cool wooden planking all the way down the front on using these 1x4s. And then that wooden planking continues all the way out the end of the building too. On the beach outside, there's a fire pit and 2 sun loungers outside the front door. And then staying in that middle section above the front door is this balcony with a door leading inside. And then transitioning from the sandy beach to the grass, we've got this long, narrow swimming pool leading to 2 tall palm trees. The main living area is over on the left, and we've got these large sliding patio doors. Upstairs above the swimming pool is the bedroom, and the front wall of this bedroom is built completely with studs on the side. So that whole panel is built in one piece and then just clicks into place, which I think was a really nice building technique. Looking inside in the kitchen, we've got a table with 2 chairs. And then behind that, we've got some kitchen units with a large oven with some utensils on top. Above the kitchen, we've got a really nice reading room with a huge swivel chair, a large bookcase full of books with a camera and a statue on top. And then over on the other wall, we've got a large indoor plant, and there's a large chandelier hanging from the ceiling. In the middle section downstairs, we've just got the front door leading into a hall, and then upstairs, we've got that door leading out onto the balcony. In the living room, we've got a large yellow sofa with a coffee table and a side table. Then over on the other wall, we've got an electric guitar on a stand. Moving upstairs, we see that the bedroom is actually larger than the living room. It has this nice overhang on the right-hand side. In the main part of the bedroom, we've got a double bed with a pot plant on one side and what looks like an alarm clock on the other. Then next to it, there's a low wall with a rubber duck sitting on top. But if you look around the corner, the rubber duck isn't for a bath. There's a large walk-in shower with a shower head above. The completed building is actually surprisingly solid. You can pick it up and manhandle it quite a lot, shake it around, nothing falls off. It doesn't seem to be at all fragile. And the build experience was really enjoyable. You build the entire building in 3 sections. So firstly, you build the large, tall 3-story section, then you the middle part, and then the sitting room and the bedroom, and then you build the whole front, and then you attach the whole lot together. And it's really easy to take apart again just by removing a few parts. First, the 2x4 tile at the end of the jetty. Then the 4 tiles behind the sun loungers by the front door. And then lastly, for the front section, 1 tile in front of the patio doors. And then the whole of the beach and the garden just slides away. And then on the roof, if you just remove 2 tiles and the top of the air conditioning unit, you've then got the 3 separate parts of the build. Now, in a recent video, I modified the LEGO family house by buying 2 of them and putting them back to back. And I did think with this set, especially with this large tower on the end, which looks very unfinished, just sort of going off into nothingness, getting a second one of these would make an amazing modification. So after having a great time building the main set, I did it all over again and built the entire thing in mirror image to build a second one. Now, to help with the modification, there's a few things that I left out of the mirror image house. Firstly, the coffee table from the sitting room, then the swivel chair and the camera and statue from the library or reading room. Then from the kitchen, I left out the oven, all the kitchen units, and also the extractor fan, which was on the wall above the stove. And then lastly, the table and chairs from the front of the kitchen. So to start the modification, we obviously don't need 2 kitchen doors right next door to each other leading into the same room. So on the mirror house, we're going to remove this step and the door and replace it with a glass window. So now we've just got the 1 door leading into the kitchen. There was one thing I was slightly unkeen on, and that's on the step leading up to the kitchen door. They've used a round plate here, which looks like a little bit of a trip hazard for the residents. So I'm going to quickly swap that out for a square plate. So with square plates on both the top and the bottom step, I think it looks a lot neater. And now that our kitchen is double the size, I'm going to make a bit more space and move the table and chairs over to the mirror house and add the few of the kitchen units we took out back on this side. So in the mirrored house, we've now got the table and 3 of the chairs, while the 4th chair is in the original side of the house. And I've also added in the 2 kitchen units. I've changed the colour of the tiles on top of these jars just to make them a bit different from the other 2. And I've added a wine bottle and a wine glass on top of this one. And then looking from above, you can see the entire layout of the new kitchen. Then moving upstairs to their library or reading room, the rug in the middle of the room is one stud away from the edge. If we move that over one stud and the other one in the mirror house, they'll both join up together. We're going to keep both the bookcases, but rearrange the chair and the two indoor plants to make more space, and also add some items on top of the other bookcase. So here are the two libraries. In the original house, we've removed the pot plant and moved the rug over one stud towards the edge of the building. And then in the mirror house, we've moved the rug one stud over as well. We've gained the house plant from the original building, and instead of a camera and a statue on top of the bookcase, we've got a gold trophy and a china bowl. And then looking from above, here's the layout of the new double library. And then lastly, underneath I've added a 2x8 plate just to join the two halves together. And then on the roof, I'm going to replace those two white 1x2 tiles for a 2x2. And that's the tower part of the house complete. Then moving on to the middle part of the house, I've already taken that kitchen unit out on the mirror image of the house, so nothing else really needs to be done to this part. You'll notice that the last kitchen unit was actually part of the structure of the house, with this pillar sitting on top of it. So in the mirror image of the house, I moved that pillar down and added two 1x1 grey bricks on top of it. So now the residents are fortunate enough to have a balcony both on the front and the back of the house. And once the middle sections are clicked together with the tower sections, I just need to reinstate those air conditioning units and the whole thing will be tied together. So moving on to the main section of the house with the living room and the bedroom, I'll show you now how this panel was made. You can see here it's got clips along the bottom and a couple along the top as well, and then there's corresponding bars built into the structure of the house along the bottom and then a couple on the top. And then this panel is actually really interesting. The middle section is built with studs on the side, so you can see the studs are facing up. There's some tiles there, and there's the anti-studs underneath. However, the rails above and below the windows are both pointing inwards, so there's got anti-studs here, but also here, so the studs are both pointing inwards on these, with tiles along the sides where they touch the windows. So I just thought that was a really interesting building technique. Now moving downstairs to the living room, I thought as we've now got all this space, I thought it'd be good if we turned the living room around 90 degrees. So we can have the table in the middle with a sofa at one end and the other sofa at the other end, and then we'll arrange the other sort of accessories around those items. And this is what we end up with. We've got a sofa at each end in front of the patio doors, and each one of those has got a side table next door to it. The coffee table in the middle, I know it's floating in midair at the moment, but obviously when these two get joined together, half it will be resting on the other half of the house. Now one of the residents of the house obviously plays the guitar, but I doubt they would have two identical guitars, so I think we need to swap one of those out. Now the guitar stand is just this 1x2 semicircular tile, and that's got a 1x1 round plate with a hole in the stud on top of it, and then this clip which holds onto the guitar itself. So I thought if we remove the guitar and the clip and then replace it with one of these bar pieces with the stud on the end, the guitarist can go back to his roots from before he played the electric guitar and also play the acoustic guitar. So we end up with two different guitars on stands next door to each other. So moving on to the bedroom, unlike all the other rooms, I didn't want to extend the bedroom and make one giant bedroom. I thought it'd be nice to have a bedroom and a guest room. So I've made a one stud wide wall, but instead of mounting it either in one bedroom or the other, I've put some jumper plates underneath, so it's going to sit right in the middle of the two bedrooms and also join them together structurally. So here you can see I've got 4 jumper plates and 3 2x4 white tiles, and then the wall just sits on top of those. And then once joined together, you can see as that wall's only 1 stud thick, it's only marginally wider than the 2 door frames leading onto it. So looking from above, you can see our 2 double bedrooms, both with ensuite showers. So as well as the wall inside holding the 2 halves together, as with the taller section of the building, I'm going to replace these 2 2x2 tiles with a 2x4. That makes the roof decorations look nicer, and it'll also hold the 2 halves together. So with the first floor reinstated on top of the ground floor, this is what this end of the building looks like all together. And so with all parts of the house back together, reinstating some tiles on the top tidies up the decoration and keeps everything holding together. I've also moved the 2 birds together on one side because I thought if they're both up there together, they'd probably be friends. So as far as the building's concerned, that's the modifications all complete, and I'm really pleased with how the building has turned out. I love the architecture of the set, especially that tall tower, and that was the main part which I personally think was screaming out to be doubled up upon. And that end of the building looks absolutely fantastic, double its original width. So with the building finished, the outside is slightly more problematic. As we move down the building from the living room end, you can see up here we've got green garden with our 2 palm trees. We then move through some rocky area and onto some sand, and then right down this end and the sand obviously turns into water, and we've got the seashore. So our problem is that we've got seashore on both sides, and obviously it would then therefore join up, and then that means our kitchen door is coming down our steps straight into the sea. So what I've decided to do is the original house is going to stay as it is. It's going to have its seashore and its swimming pool, and then the mirror part of the house is going to turn into a back garden. So going from the modifications on the building, most of those were made with just using the parts that came in the two sets. The only main addition was that white wall separating the two bedrooms. Everything else was parts that came in the set, apart from a few accessories in the kitchen and on the bookcase. But the outside is a complete different matter. What I'm going to do is extend this water out slightly, and I'm hoping that I can use a lot of the pieces from the mirror house's swimming pool, and then I'm also going to steal the jetty pieces from the mirror house and make this jetty a bit longer. But the outside of the mirror house has got to be completely rebuilt. First of all, we'll need to get rid of the swimming pool. The house doesn't need 2 swimming pools. Then also we need to get rid of all the sand and the water. The jetty will obviously be going, and then all of this area will need to be changed for green so it looks more like a back garden. But unfortunately, that's all going to take quite a lot of planning, and I've got to find an awful lot of pieces. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to save that for a part 2. I'd really like to know what you think about these modifications in the comments below, especially if you've got some ideas of how I can adapt the outside of the mirror house to turn it into a back garden. If you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And of course, make sure you subscribe for part 2 and more LEGO videos.